G'day, I'm Jatz. I'm the owner here at Coffee and Factory Espresso. We are a small local coffee roaster. We roast all of our coffee for the cafe on site in Orange, and we also supply a bunch of cafes around Orange and the Blue Mountains in Sydney. I'm here with Paul. We're about to go through a typical day for us.
Excellent. Let's have a look. So tell us about, you were showing me before about the coffee tasters flavour wheel. What's that mean?
Yeah, so I was explaining to Paul that as a roaster we get sort of high quality coffee beans in. They all will have their own specific characteristics, and as a roaster we have to try and figure out what we're trying to achieve with that coffee and which of those characteristics we're trying to enhance without adding any sort of additional char and smoke and stuff that was never grown on the green bean in the first place. So the roasting wheel, I guess, helps us identify those flavours. It helps us identify faults as well. If something's not right, we can adjust our roast profile to then get it to the desired sort of outcome. So typically with espresso coffee, which is what most people drink, we aim for the sort of, I guess, this range of the wheel, which is chocolate, hazelnut, sweetness, maple syrup, caramelized honey notes, with its, I guess, avoiding going into the smoky, ashy, acrid sort of range of roasting tobacco and stuff like that. You know, unpleasant flavors that you do unfortunately get at a few places around. So we're just about to see a roast drop. So this is our darkest blend. Just about to see that fall out of the roaster. So it's churning around in there at the moment, roasting with a mix of sort of convection, so the hot air thing, and also conductive heat, so it's contact with the metal, which is quite a bit of a balancing act to make sure that, I guess, the outside's not cooked more than the inside, to give an even sort of flavour profile when it's ground and the coffee's extracted. So this will dump at a certain, hits a certain temperature that we want it to hit, and it'll start the cooling phase of the coffee. We want it to come down in temperature as quickly as possible so it doesn't go beyond our sort of desired outcome. It will make a bit of noise, but that's the fan drawing that cold air through.
Yeah, right.
The cooling train.
So how do you get that desired temperature on a day like today when you know it's extreme heat?
Luckily, the roaster we've invested in is, there's a lot of technology behind it, so it maintains and adjusts to our computerized profile to within a degree for the entire roast. So say it's freezing in Orange, the green beans are going to be a little bit colder. It will adjust in the early part of the roast. That's what it looks like up there. It doesn't look like it. There's a lot of smoke coming off that, but it gets sucked down into the cooling train and then neutralized by the afterburner off on the side. So it looks like a bushfire when these things drop, but because of the system, you don't see that smoke. Yeah, right. That's about as dark as we roast, because then you start to float into those undesirable smoke and ash and all that stuff. So, the reason roasters roast dark, and some roasters do go beyond this, is darker coffee is easy to get coffee flavour out of it, but not necessarily good flavour. Because the beans sort of broken down, the structure's broken down, you can add, hit water on, you throw water on it, and it's going to melt that soluble stuff more easily.
Yep.
Lighter stuff is still a bit more dense in structure, but it maintains the more intricate, interesting flavours in the coffee. It just takes a little bit more skill at the machine to then extract those flavours. Yeah, right. So the reason we still have a dark blend is because at home, people who don't know a lot about coffee can still get something out that tastes like coffee. Yeah.
So where do you source your beans from?
I always get that question. Apparently, a lot of Brazil, Colombia, which is pretty typical. Apparently we carry Peru, a really nice Indonesian, two really good Kenyans we've got at the moment, Ethiopian, and I'm missing one in there somewhere, but we often get Mexico as well, which is beautiful, Nicaragua. Yeah, wow. Just depends, because coffee is a lot like wine. Sometimes you can get a crop from the same place one year, and the next year it's not necessarily the same profile that you need. So it's a case of just getting samples, testing things, seeing if it's at the quality that you want, and then matching flavours to get the profile you want. Yeah, yeah. Because there is a lot of balance in coffee. It's a lot like food. There's acidity in coffee that you want to balance with sweetness and body and all that stuff to give a rounded experience. Again, depending what you are trying to highlight the really unique, intricate assets, we tend to roast a little bit lighter,
Yep.
so as to not cook them out of the process. So,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Do you, does anyone grow beans in Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
there's a lot around the Byron region. They're lovely. We love to stock them, but they're incredibly expensive. So in some cases, sort of triple what we currently pay. So that's a big cost to pass on to customers.
Yeah.
In terms of taste profile, we can achieve that with other sort of profiles, other beans from around the world.
Yeah.
We have looked into carrying them once in a while, but again, it's just prohibitive. Like the costs are prohibitive. It's no one's fault. The farmers have a lot of costs that they've got to cover, and a lot of the growers in Australia tend to roast their own stuff as well, which makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks for showing us the whole process. It's excellent. So from here, what happens from here?
Here we are going to this contraption here, which de-stoves the beans. So
Yep.
when beans come from farms, they obviously have to be dried out to a certain water content
Yep.
before they put in bags. And they are then often, like, some countries or some plantations will put them out on raised beds off the ground. Others will pretty much just put them on big concrete pads
Yep.
to dry out and get to a certain water content. Unfortunately, when they scrape them up, they'll pick up foreign objects, so this thing will remove those. This is a big industrial magnet, so we once got a bullet casing from Guatemala that we found.
Oh, wow.
That. It was empty, obviously. It wasn't a live round. It would have gone off in the roaster.
Yeah, wow.
And these are the rocks which are next to it. Sounds dramatic, but this is about 2-3 years worth of rocks. So this is the foreign stuff that this machine will grab out of the coffee, so it doesn't go into someone's grinder.
So nothing at all gets past this machine?
Not this roast, no. This has got sort of a lot of filters that will take out Hessian coffee dust. Then we've got rocks, we've got metals, and we've got non-metal products. Everything's being filtered out. So,
Yeah, wow. That's incredible.
yeah, it's good for the coffee. It's also good for the roaster, so it's less fire risk with build up inside the roaster.
Yep.
Brilliant roasters. I probably should get a commission for how much I push these things, because I think they're amazing. And the control we have is amazing. Like, we can change a cooking phase by,
No, that's excellent.
a degree or 10 seconds or whatever we want. Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. So, guys, I think it's so important to support local. So, Factory Espresso in Orange, the address?
135 Kite Street.
135 Kite Street. So, head down, open 7 days a week.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So, do you ever sleep?
I try to.
Yeah, so head down, come and support local, guys, because it's so important. Central West is such an amazing food bowl, and hope you've enjoyed this video, having a look at the processes of how coffee's done. And it's a local process, it's as you can see, and they sell coffee beans as well as coffee and beautiful breakfast and lunch and everything like that. So Factory Espresso, 135 Kite Street in Orange. Come down and check them out. You won't be disappointed. And thanks for your time, Jatz. Thank you.